My dad is texting me asking, so how do I get my small business to show up in ChatGPT?
The dads are definitely into it. My dad's a big Claude user. He is using like the voice memo though, walk or whatever, and just talk to it.
The parents love voice dictation.
They do.
This is our new show, Field Notes. We are going to break down everything that is happening within the world of marketing.
Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of an AEO page and teach you how to show up in the LLMs like ChatGPT.
I think the first very important thing is that an AEO webpage is a lot more specific and tailored than a traditional webpage.
Sure.
So in the old world, you'd be publishing the ultimate guide to content marketing. And in the AEO world, you are publishing the ultimate guide to content marketing if you work at a logistics company in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Because answer engines surface highly relevant, contextualized, tailored information to every person who is using them. And so if you're publishing very generic, broad content, it's not going to get surfaced because it's not matching the specificity that the answer engines are looking for.
That's one thing we've started to work on with our content is how do we add that depth and like where are the areas we need to focus?
Yeah.
So when we're working on a content strategy, like where should we start when we need to like get that deep and detailed?
Well, the first stage of loop marketing is express, and it's all about understanding your persona, and that is critical for AEO. There are three elements that you should be considering: use case, persona, and industry.
Cool.
And so in the express stage, you are going to nail down those elements so that by the time you get to creating and optimizing content, you understand exactly who you are creating and optimizing content for. And like all that should exist on the page.
I feel like a lot of folks jump to like the channel tactics and how do I optimize for this specific thing, but it actually starts with the audience, right? Like who are we making the content for? And then making sure it's structured for the LLMs to understand and cite for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get to structure. Once you've identified use case, persona, industry, and you know what your page is all about, obviously you need to craft the content on that page so that it is as easy as possible for an answer engine to parse, interpret, and then surface it.
Okay.
And there are some roughly 7 best practices that I've been sharing that we've developed and implemented at HubSpot that I recommend every company who is doing AEO start using. The first is put the answer first.
Okay.
So you know those recipe websites where the answer is all the way at the bottom under a story of...
never seen one of those.
Yeah. No, the most hated type of content on the internet, I think, and yet we all still need recipes. You should be doing the opposite of that.
Okay.
So you want to put the answer to whatever the primary question or topic is as high up on the page as possible. There's a lot of research that shows answer engines are paying a lot more attention to what's up at the top of the page. So if you're trying to teach a company how to do content marketing, you want to put the answer, again, the persona, use case, industry specific answer in the first sentence of the page.
So I'm writing the content. We have that top module. What's the second piece we need to consider?
Well, then you're going to want to expand on that answer. So you're going to want to have 2 to 3 paragraphs that give more context, maybe some examples, some definitions, methodology. You basically want to help the answer engine understand that response is both credible and complete.
And what's next after that?
Well, throughout the entire page, you are going to add a ton of structure.
Okay.
So something that is very important to know about answer engines is that they are very lazy readers.
Okay.
They're looking for quick hits. And the more you can break up your content with structured lists, with tables, all the structure that you can add, it's going to help answer engines really easily interpret the page.
Sure, which is better user experience anyway, right?
Totally.
Like when you or I go to a page, I want the headlines, the quick answers, the bullet points, that structure.
That's why you're asking ChatGPT to do it for you.
So we're building. There's 7 things we have to remember. We have this format. We're adding the context. We're adding the credibility. What's the next piece we got to think about?
Okay, so now we're at the bottom of the page. We're going to add an FAQ.
Okay.
Have you been seeing FAQs everywhere lately?
I've seen them, especially on folks that are a little more progressive and like being aggressive to try and rank in the LLMs. I'm starting to see them pop up for sure.
Okay, well, there's a real reason for that.
Okay.
First of all, we know that answer engines are surfacing answers in a conversational format, right? Like you ask a question, they provide a response.
Sure.
So the more you can structure your content conversationally, the easier it's going to be for an LLM to just grab that content.
Okay.
So that's a big reason for it. But also, answer engines, again, they're looking for those highly specific answers. So that FAQ at the bottom, it lets you expand on whatever the main theme of the page is and get to those really specific, we call them sub-queries.
It feels like within the page, like as you're talking about it, it's all these different modules that are like almost chapters to your story where
Yeah.
it's like, help it understand, you know, the initial thesis, help it understand the context,
Yes.
give it additional questions.
Yes.
So really thinking of it in like content blocks as opposed to some long, lengthy page that I have to work my way through.
You actually hit on something incredibly important, which is something else people should know about the way LLMs pull information is they are not pulling the entire page at once.
Okay.
And that's actually a big difference from how Google interprets pages.
Yeah.
Google will look at the entire page. An AI engine will just look at 1, 2, 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
And you don't know which paragraph that's going to be, right?
Sure,
It's a very
sure.
fun Easter egg. So you want to make sure that every passage on the page makes sense in isolation.
Okay. So if I've structured it, I have the FAQs, am I done at that point?
Not quite.
Okay.
I think as a content guy, you're really going to like these next. No, you're going to like this next one, and then you might not like the one after that.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. So the one that you're going to like
Yep.
is it's really important to add original insights throughout.
Okay.
Answer engines are looking for two things. They're looking for consensus.
Yep.
Everyone's saying the same thing. We can get back to that concept in a little bit. And they're also looking for net new information. And the net new information is what's going to get pulled into citations.
Right.
So how do you provide net new information? Well, we call that original insights. And so that could be data, that could be quotations, market research, anything you've got that no one else has.
Well, I think that's the piece that's critical, right? I think that's where our worlds start to come together is like, at the end of the day, we don't want to produce content that all other brands are producing.
That's derivative.
You want to have an expert, you want their insights, you want their lived experience, you want the results from their work. And like, that's the stuff that the search engines and the LLMs are looking for. So that's where the overlap is, where you're going to get the best results.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to your point, this is also something that search engines really like.
Yeah.
So it's a good 2-for-1. We love a 2-for-1.
We love it.
Okay, you ready for the one that you're not going to like?
Okay.
Okay. So you want to make sure every point ties back to the product.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Slightly controversial, but here's why that's so important. Answer engines are going to pull all this information, right?
Yeah.
If you're just providing original insights and you're not explaining why that original insight is so relevant to HubSpot, the product,
Sure.
you're basically making the answer engine smarter without getting any recommendation or visibility from it. So you're going to say, you know, I tried these 6 different experiments, and here's the experiment that was able to boost leads most successfully. And if you want to get these results, you can use HubSpot to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how you make sure that when ChatGPT is sharing those insights, it says to the user, oh, and did you know you can get similar results with HubSpot?
Yeah. You don't want it to work too hard, right? If it has to make a connection between like
It's not
a
gonna
thought
make the
leadership
connection.
post and then a product, it's not going to make that connection.
Yeah.
And there's like tasteful ways to do it,
Do it
right? I think
tastefully.
you and I go back and forth on like how hard is the promotion, what is the line, and it's just a matter of like, what's the angle? Can we make sure it's woven in naturally? Make sure the LLM and the reader, for that matter, like knows, okay, I'm reading this education or this thought leadership piece, and it's brought to you by said brand or product, which I think is a nice way to tie it in.
And speaking of what matters in AEO, we actually just did this study. So we sent out a survey to 300 marketers to see how they are navigating the shift. Obviously, we are investing heavily here, but we want to see how the industry is doing it. And the data is really interesting. 32% are already seeing real traffic from AI search engines, and 57% are actively optimizing for it. So I think brands are actively trying to figure out how to be cited and drive people to their site. So if you're interested in how your AEO strategy compares to the industry benchmarks, where the budgets are going, what content types people are investing in, what some of the biggest challenges they're facing, we've put together a full breakdown for you in the survey results. You can click the link in the description or scan the QR code and get it for free.
Okay. Next, you're going to add schema. And schema it's like a language. And schema has actually been around for a long time. It's not a new thing for answer engines. And there's been some debate about how much answer engines are actually relying on schema, but we know they're lazy readers. And schema is like that quick hit. Here is exactly what's on the page. It's a description of what's on the page. Users won't be able to see it. It's in the code. Yeah. And so you want to embed relevant schema for whatever the page type is. You can use FAQ schema to say, hey, these are questions, these are answers. You can use article type schema for your blog post to say, this is an article. You can go to schema.org and see all the different schema types, but in technical terms, go ham on the schema.
Yeah, I think it's important too, because we, at least on the content side, right, we're so focused on the content itself, the hook, the headline, the subheadline, all the content, but making sure that it's structured and making sure those added pieces is what's going to increase the discoverability for us. Like if we don't do that, we're not going to get the visibility we're looking for.
If a tree falls in the forest and
go,
ChatGPT isn't there to hear it, did it actually fall?
Right.
Schema helps you make a noise.
So is Schema the last thing I'm going to do before I hit publish?
Yeah, you're ready to publish.
Okay. It is a lot to do.
I actually don't think it's more to do than we have been doing for search engines.
Right? Like back in the day when we were both like learning SEO, you're talking about the keyword and the slug and the headline and the intro and like you have your checklist to make sure that page
this
is
just
optimized.
Your new checklist.
So we've broken down how to do it. Who's doing it well? Because like my feed, like I mentioned, is full of people sharing their case studies, their crazy results, which I'm not sure I believe all of them.
You're right to be skeptical.
Yeah, a little skeptical, but like your team's in this every single day.
Yeah.
You're looking at what's working internally for us. You're looking at external in the market. Like who's doing this really well?
I have to say, Kyle, I posted on LinkedIn asking for examples of companies doing AEO well in preparation for recording this.
Okay, yeah.
And it was crickets out there. There are not a lot of companies who are doing it really well right now, if I can be totally honest. And I think that's because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of ambiguity.
Ton of noise.
Few companies truly know what is helping you show up in results. One company that I think is an exception to this is Webflow. And
cool.
Webflow has done a really nice job of building in public, talking about their successes and their failures on their blog. They have put together some really great content that I think is appealing for both users and answer engines.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
As you've like reviewed their content, where is that overlap? Like where are they focusing from a content strategy standpoint?
I think a great example of content that I am positive is helping them show up more in ChatGPT is their glossary.
Okay.
So their glossary is a compendium. It's an SAT word for you.
Love that.
I did get a good score on my SATs.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It's a compendium of terms that are relevant to their ICP.
Okay.
And what they do a really nice job of, they have a really, really well-structured answer to every single glossary, really well-structured explanation. And the product mentions are so seamlessly integrated. It's chef's kiss.
So are you borrowing from them? Are you implementing new experiments? What's our team up to?
We have also done the glossary play. Wasn't necessarily inspired by Webflow. I think the companies that are leading in AEO have hit on some of the same techniques, maybe organically.
Sure.
So we have a glossary of our own, and this is all the concepts that are relevant to our ICP. You will see the product integrations throughout.
Yeah.
Our glossary pages are a lot longer than Webflow's, and that's because we want to provide as much relevant information to ChatGPT as possible. We've also incorporated a lot of relevant documentation. So links to our knowledge base, links to our product pages. And the idea is just hammer home over and over and over again. This is the connection between this high level concept and what the product can actually accomplish. And you might say, well, what's the difference between SEO? Because we're making glossaries for SEO too. How is this any different? And I think the big difference is, if someone shows up on the page, a real person, great, but the primary audience is an LLM. So we are building these pages with the expectation that few humans will ever land there. And the goal is not to facilitate a direct conversion. It's to get that information in ChatGPT so that that person understands how HubSpot can help them. Then they make their way to our website. They might go directly to a demo page. They might sign up for the free product directly. And so the recipient, the audience, is different. There's a middle person or a middle bot now that there didn't used to be.
The LLMs are piecing that together for folks, right?
Exactly.
They're able to
They've
get
totally
the answer
commodified
ready.
that type of content. So give it to them, but make sure you're making the connection to the product so it works for you. Okay, so should we quickly recap those 7 best practices?
It was a lot. Let's go through all of them. All right. So number 1 is answer up front. That one I know our teams are trained on that. It's good for the user and it's good for the LLM. It's like, here's what the page is about. Don't bury the lead. The second piece, which I think is just like added context, be able to add additional details, help the LLM understand what's this page about and like why.
Show your math.
The third is the one that I think we're most passionate about. It's just making sure it's original, right? Is like, Is the byline from somebody credible? Do I have original research? Do I have an example that no one else can publish in the industry? Like bringing original content and thought, especially because of those educational how-tos are so commodified at this point.
Net new information. That's what you're trying to provide.
The next is making sure that that product link is in there. It's tough too, because it's like not a direct promo. And I think you mentioned that as well, is like Webflow does this well. I think we're starting to do it really well, which is like, what's the angle? How does it fit in? So making sure that you can teach the LLM, hey, here's what this content is about, and it's related to this product within our portfolio, and just making that easy connection with that internal link.
That's what ultimately gets you the recommendations. So that one is key.
Last piece around like added content, I think, is the FAQ part. Like we just need to be able to get to those quick hit question and answers. And I think like as you have all that out, the last piece is like structurally is the page there. So I'm going through my checklist. I have my answers. I have my context. I'm working everything in, but making sure it's broken up, making sure there's headlines, bullet points, certain modules, so it's easy to parse. Tables, things that are more structured and easy for those LLMs to get through. Last but not least is the schema markup, critical. So having my schema markup in there before I hit publish.
You can add it after the fact. So if you forget, you can go back in. All right. We have reached our final segment, which is called The Last Word, where we will have 30 seconds to convince you that our spicy hot marketing take is right.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
You got 30 seconds.
I've got 30 seconds.
All right, let's go.
Okay, Substack should stick to text. I've been getting notifications that creators that I'm following, they're going on live. They've been trying to introduce podcasts. They've been trying to do all sorts of video. And you know what? It's not what they're good at. What they are good at is text.
They are.
And they need to double down on their value prop of text.
Okay.
No one wants video from you, Substack.
I agree. I'm going to YouTube for video.
I'm going to YouTube for video.
I don't
I'm going
need
to
it from
Instagram.
Substack.
I'm going to TikTok.
I'm with you.
TikTok, Substack. It's text.
Well done.
All right, Kyle, you ready with your last word?
Let's do it.
All right, your mark, get set, go.
All right, so my last word is that consistency is actually the invisible advantage. So here we've talked about this a lot, but in my feed, I just keep getting the latest hack, the latest play, the latest tactic. People are just trying a bunch of different things.
Everything.
And just trying to see what sticks.
Yeah.
But none of it's working because they're not giving it time to mature.
Interesting.
Over the last decade, we perfected that playbook for search, but you had to be consistent. Week over week, month over month, year over year. I think we're going to see the same thing with the LLM. So stick to your structures and keep it consistent.
You came in just over, but I'll give it to you.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Asia.
And I'm Kyle.
This is Field Notes, and we'll see you here next time.
My takes today might be like very Miss Rachel-esque, you know, with the little one, straight to camera, bubbly.